Well, let's just kick things off, John. I'll start with just a little housekeeping. These teardowns are very much interactive. John loves questions. So as he's running through a website teardown, please, if any questions pop up, make sure to post them into the chat bot. And so that we all can see them, make sure to toggle the post so that it's displaying everyone. But any questions, please post them and I will try to grab them throughout the presentation and we'll have John answer them as he's running through things.
All right.
Awesome.
Are you ready to get
Cool.
rolling?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay, let's jump in here.
Let's
I will
go.
share my screen.
Well, quick intros while you're doing that. I will stop sharing so you can share. And just a couple things here. For those who aren't familiar, my name is Emily. I am the CEO at CartHook. And at CartHook, we have a post-purchase app that allows Shopify merchants to increase their AOV with a one-click post-purchase offer. John MacDonald, he is the founder and president of The Good. And The Good is a conversion rate optimization firm that works with large Shopify and Shopify Plus stores. So John, thank you so much. These teardowns are always so great. I'm going to hand it over to you.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thanks for having me today, Emily, and glad we could do this again. I know we've done some similar type of stuff together before. It's always been fun and really productive for everyone. So a couple of things as we get started. I'm going to take a look at a handful of sites from people who submitted today. And I'm going to start off and do a teardown of a site, and then I'll do a second one. And Emily's going to jump back on and do a post-purchase teardown and kind of walk people through a little bit of how CartHook helps. And then I have a couple more that we can do. So we'll see how many we get through. If we can get through them all the better. And again, definitely ask your questions throughout. What we're going to take a look at today, I would consider ideas for things you should test. What do I mean by that? Well, we're going to take a look at all these sites from my experience of 12 years of optimizing e-commerce websites, and I'm just going to call out some things that I see and some challenges that might exist. But one of the things that I really want everybody to keep in mind here is that, the best thing to do with all these recommendations is test them, right? So let's jump in and take a look at Candy Kittens. Now, there's a couple of things on here. Emily, I did not look at these sites beforehand. I took the recommendation of my team of some I should look at, and I did that intentionally because I always want first impressions on these teardowns, right? Looking at Candy Kittens as we get started here, is this candy for kittens? I'm not really sure. It doesn't make that clear anywhere on here. Like, it could be candy in the shape of kittens, which it looks like it might actually be. But I don't know if it's for humans or for cats. So that's the first challenge. And so just starting at the very top of the page, with the free shipping bar at the top, we have run dozens and dozens of tests with these promo bars, and the only one that really converts is free shipping. Now, what I would recommend is not animating that. The reason being that it's really taking a lot of the attention away from the rest of the content up at the page. So that's the first thing, is just have that showing in the middle, not animating it. The next is navigation. I'm not a huge fan of hamburger navigations, especially for desktop. Now, for mobile, it works. It gets it out of the way. If you don't know what a hamburger navigation is, it's the three lines that, people think it kind of looks like a hamburger. So it gets called hamburger navigations. Well, the reality is that consumers on desktop and mobile, but mainly on desktop, when they first come to your site, they use the navigation as a means of understanding where they're at and how you're going to be able to help them, right? They came to your site via an ad, or they came to your site via a recommendation from a friend or a link they saw on social, and they have some understanding that you're going to be able to help solve a pain or a need that they have. Well, the reality here is, if I first come to this site, what do I see? I see Candy Kittens. I see subscribe and save 25%. I have no idea what pain or need you are going to solve for me. So it could just be, I want a treat. Okay, that's great. But I still am not really getting that from anything more than the image, which still doesn't really tell me a whole lot, right? So when you have your navigation, it really can be helpful to list out what are your main product categories and really talk more about the products and a means of how you're going to solve their pain or need, as opposed to talking about yourself. So I would eliminate things like about and mission. That's great content to have throughout the site. It is really not that helpful to have it in the main navigation. If you really want to have that content, you put it in the footer. That's always a good option as well. So scrolling down a little bit here, first thing we see is everything you've ever wished for is about to come true. The newest members of the Gourmet Gang, level up your sweets game. Okay, but I still am a little confused about exactly what I'm getting here. So that's a bit of a challenge, and you're driving me right into the ship here, which is a bit of an issue. Oh, and I don't know if you saw that. As soon as I start scrolling, the logo changes too, which is really disorienting for consumers. So, okay, vegan, friendly, great, all of this stuff. That's all great stuff to have. And I support having that there. I love that you have a really clean design, and the site has been consistent with the call to actions, which I always love to see. The same animation, the same design, that kind of pill design, if you will, with the rounded corners. It performs well. And all in all, I think that really what's missing is the, oh, hey, I'm new, doesn't really, again, still hasn't really answered the question of what am I doing? What pain are you solving? So I love the idea of Advent Tree, though. That's great for my son. I'll have to come back and think about that. And then now we're getting right into the package and asking to buy right away, to add it to cart. Now, we have done lots and lots of testing on add to cart on homepage. You really should be thinking about your homepage as the first step in your funnel. What do I mean by that? Well, what you really want people to do when they're on your homepage is get to the next step in the funnel. So the goal should not be to send people immediately to checkout. The goal should be get them the information they're looking for and get them to that next step in the funnel. So send them to a product detail page, or even a category page would be ideal. If that's something that is, you have more than a few products, right? If that applies to your brand. But I'm looking here, and also I'm not really sure why some of these are off the screen a little bit. Even the site, even if it's on mobile, should be responsive in a way that is responding to the device that it's on. So that's a bit of a challenge, but I'm very unlikely to buy at this point. I don't know what the deal is with Very Cherry versus Orchard Apple. Why does it look a little bit different there than these brands and the packaging? So there's just some, I want to know more about the products before I'm ready to buy. So if we start scrolling down, now we're talking about Big Flavors on its ingredients. And I can tell you that this bundles link here is unlikely to be getting a lot of clicks. In-page navigations like this generally don't perform very well. This is something we see a lot of on product detail pages, where people have accordion navigations with all of their information on a product detail page, and then you have to click it to expand that section. That really has two negative effects. The first is that a lot of consumers won't click on that, and they'll miss all that valuable information. The second thing is, and I'm certainly not a search engine optimization pro, but I know enough to say that anything that is hidden on the screen when you first load the page is going to get relegated as kind of miscellaneous content by Google and not prioritized for rankings. So you're really only hurting your SEO by having that content hidden behind a click. Google does that because it doesn't want you tricking anybody by keyword stuffing into something that you don't really want people to see. So you put it behind a button or a click. So if you have an accordion navigation, you're better off to just show all that information. And it's the same thing here. If you really want to show bundles, right, then just show the bundles, because right now people aren't going to see that based on this in-page navigation. Now, in terms of the design, look, I think this is a great brand play. I really get a feel for the brand on this site, but there's so much little animation going on here that the eye is kind of pulled all over this page. I'm trying to read these quotes and they're moving on me, and it's just I can't. What's the orange one and what's this red one behind here? You just can't really pull those out and read them very easily. So I think that's a bit of a mistake there. Really want to people to know it look like what GQ. I mean, people know what GQ is, right? So make that visible. Don't hide it behind some animations. Trying to apply the brand too heavy in these cases. Um, Gourmet AF, okay. Trying to be fun a little bit. Now we're talking about animal gluten. I think that there's obviously here that they're going for the high end feel on these suites, and but there's just so much animation. Really, just tone that down a little bit, and I think that you'll get it across. Again, in page navigation, unlikely to really get a lot of interaction there. Same thing with these quotes. I mean, there's no way to even get to a bunch of them. I think you're really just hurting yourself. There's this 5 stars back here, but I have no idea what that is. So again, really just, I think overall for anybody listening, the goal should just be not to be cute, right? You want to be on brand. I get that. But as soon as you start really applying it too heavy handed and focusing on that, you start to lose people. I say this quite often, brand definitely matters, right? But if you were to ask consumers, what is on a scale of 1 to 10, what is the average number in terms of the design or how beautiful a site is for you to feel like you would buy from them? The answer is a 3 or a 4, quite honestly. And anything above that is nice, right? And maybe you want to apply branding to that, and that's fine. But when you start really pushing above like that 8, 9, 10, you start getting in the way of the functionality. And what happens is consumers then really just say it's too difficult. Like I like the branding, but it's becoming too difficult to accomplish my goals. And so you want the branding to come across, but you don't want it to get in the way. All right, let's talk about this email sign up. I love the placement right above the footer. I think that every site who has a list should be placing them there. But you're missing a few pieces of information here, unfortunately. The first thing is you really want to set some expectations. What do I mean by that? Well, what am I going to get when I sign up? How often am I going to get it? And what am I giving up? Right? So first thing, what am I going to get? I really have no idea because sweetening up my inbox doesn't really tell me what you're going to email me. Second of all, I have no idea how often you're going to send me an email, what the content's going to be. And then you're not setting any expectations around what you're going to do with my information. So what am I giving up? I don't know. I'm giving you my email, and I could just be signing away my inbox to you. Like you're going to go and sell that email to all of your friends once you build up a list. So really a couple of things should be done here. First is, let people know what the benefit is to them for signing up. Are you going to send them, cool facts about candy? Or how to work this into your daily enjoyment or something of that sort. And then is it going to be that you're going to email me once a week, once a day, once a month, only on special occasions? You really just need to let people know, and then have a really clear privacy statement as well. Okay, looking at the footer. Now, I'm a huge fan of a couple of really following a couple of best practices in footers. And we have tested dozens of different footer designs, and really there's something that stands out for all of these. The first is on the far left should always be the shopping navigation. So instead of something like shop by flavor, it really should be just listing out all the flavors, right? If you only have the one product but in different flavors, just list them out there. Make it real easy, because if somebody is confused by your site, typically what we found they're going to do is immediately scroll down to the footer, and they're going to take a look at what products are available, right? And so that's going to help them kind of cut through any of the branding that they feel like is just getting in their way, or if they're confused at all, they're going to just scroll down and say, what products do they have? So you always want that shop navigation to be the first column all the way on the left. Then you can have more about the brand like you have here and customer service. That is great. Then to the right of that, you should have your logo. So where it says Let's Sweet Talk, above that, I would put your logo and your contact information. What do I mean by contact information? There is something that we've coined the trust trifecta. So this is 3 things that just increase trust to the point where it's a non-issue. What are they? You should always have a phone number, a customer support email, and ideally a physical address. Now, people aren't going to show up at that address most likely. It could be a P.O. box for the most part, right? A phone number can be international, and an email should be easily accessible. The reality is that people just want to know, if I give you my credit card information, can I trust you? And if there is an issue, can I get a hold of you to get it resolved? And the best way to do that is just have all your information out there so that if somebody wants to get a hold of you or knows that, hey, I have an issue, I can just go back to the site and look in the footer and I'm good to go. Also, if somebody wants to contact you, we have run dozens of tests where we just tell people, go to this site and figure out how to contact somebody. 90% of the time, what people do is they immediately scroll and look at the bottom right-hand corner of a page. That is where we have been trained as consumers to look at how to contact a brand. So put it there, make it easy, and just put right there in that spot those 3 contact information items. And then below that, you can include links to social and ways to do your sweet talk if you'd like. Okay, and the last thing about the footer is the payment icons. As far as I'm aware, I have yet to see any legal reason to have payment icons in the footer. They really don't add any value, and the fact that they're grayed out here and not all of the different branded colors is helpful. But when we do eye tracking studies, and brands have all these logos for all the cards below and the payment options below in their footer, the rest of the footer gets missed, and the eye immediately goes down to the bottom of the page and checks out those color icons because they think it must be important. The reality is that's really only important in the checkout. So put the icons and payment methods in the checkout and you'll have a much better experience. All right. So Emily, any questions from you on this one?
We don't have any questions in the chat, but I'm agreeing with you on stuff. It's a very lovely site, very cute. And would you kind of think along the lines, sometimes in this situation, less might be more for them in that recommendation for these kind of edits? Because you're right, it's very cute. I'm hopeful that it is cat candy, but it doesn't seem to be. But yeah, just a little bit more descriptive because it's a very cute and enticing site that, maybe a little too much going on.
Maybe, yeah. I would love to run some testing on this, I'm pretty sure. Dino, I believe, yes, we will be posting.
Yes.
And then Nandy, there are a lot of things that can be changed. So Nandy's question is, there's a lot of options, I assume that I'm mentioning here, that are not easily available to change if you're not a coder. Lots of great info, though. Mm-hmm. So I believe it's Nandi or Nandi. So what I would say to this is Shopify is really built up to be a pretty easy platform to adjust. And so I would highly recommend that if you need some help on there, you can find Shopify developers pretty much anywhere. I mean, they've become somewhat of a commodity. Now, there is a developer resource that Shopify has that you can go on and see their certified developer directory. And most of them are very, very reasonable to make some changes. And most changes, what we find, require less than a couple of hours of development code to make. So, I understand for smaller brands that might be a little bit of an issue. However, for Mid-sized brands, it's typically not as much of an issue to make some small changes like this. And Shopify is great as well. A lot of the stuff like what I just recommended in the footer, that can all be done through Shopify's admin panel. Not one of those things needs to be done through a developer. So hopefully that helps reduce a little bit of the stress around that. It's always something that as at the good as we're testing, we have a matrix for how we prioritize our testing. And one of the items in that matrix is difficulty to implement. So it's something that we are considering at every step. Doesn't matter if it's the highest conversion lift ever, if it takes, if it can't be implemented on your platform, and B, if it takes more resources to implement than you would get through that change, the benefits coming out of that change. So you really want to make sure you're weighing your options there. All right, Emily. I believe sock drawer is the one you want to do the post-purchase teardown for.
Yeah, exactly. This is where we're going to go a little bit off script from our traditional teardown. So excited to kick this off.
Okay, so I'll start on the front end here at the home page, and then maybe you can pick it up from product detail or wherever you feel like the next step is for you.
Perfect.
Okay, great. So first things first here, if there are a couple things I could eliminate from the internet, one of them is going to be email pop-ups. I'm just not a huge fan of these right as I come to the site for a couple of reasons. The first is you're basically telling me right off the bat that your products aren't worth what you're charging for them. They're worth 10% less. And so, second is you're really immediately going into that discount brand mode as opposed to letting your brand and your quality of products and all those things help you to keep your margins up and sell your product. Instead, you're immediately going into that discount world. Now, this creates a big issue. And for brands, it's not sustainable, right? Now, I'm all for collecting emails. Email should be your highest converting channel. So it should rank above any of the other ad platforms for sure, especially lately with all the iOS changes and challenges people are having with Facebook, et cetera. But regardless of that, when you interrupt somebody like this, I really want you to consider what would the experience would be if this was a retail store. Now, think about it like this. I walk into a retail store and a sales associate jumps out in front of me with a clipboard and says, "John, give me your email address. I'll give you a coupon." I haven't even seen the products. I haven't browsed the site at all or the store. I have no idea if you can help solve that pain or need that I'm here to solve for. So when it comes to that, I'm just not ready yet. And so launching a pop-up like this on a homepage is really just disruptive to the experience of the user. Talking about this specific pop-up as well, the challenges really are that you're asking for email and phone number. To me, that's a bit of an issue. You should really be focusing on one or the other. And then you can always use that one method to get the second. So we've seen a lot of success lately with brands starting with SMS and getting that opened because SMS has such a huge open rate. I mean, I don't know who doesn't read text messages on their phone thinking it might be a friend right now, right? It's a great play for being able to get eyeballs. At that point, you could then say, hey, click here and add your email address and we'll do something special for you. Maybe give you free shipping, maybe a free gift with purchase, or something that is not a dollar or a percentage off. A discount, in my point of view, is really the easy button. Instead of a discount, focus on something that is more of a promotion or offer and go from there. So, okay. Let's get into the site here. First thing we see is you have the sock drawer in the middle. I always, and I didn't mention this on the last site, but I always prefer to see the logo of the brand in the top left, meaning that as soon as a consumer gets to the site, they know they're in the right place. It's just quick and easy. Also, most consumers, we find that if they want to get back to a homepage, they will click on the logo to get there. So you really want to try to make that as easy as possible. And then looking at the navigation as a whole, we have collections is where we start, which is a little odd, I would really start with women's, men's, and then collections. That way, we are kind of helping people understand that socks is what you're selling. Obviously, you're called the sock drawer. That's a great name. It's very descriptive, but this really can be helpful. And so, I really also want to implore everybody to be thinking their navigation as you're doing this. Keep it to 5 items or less. Anything over 5 items does not perform very well. What we find, if we did eye tracking on this site, I'm pretty sure what we would find is people get to that logo in the middle and they drop off. So bestsellers, corporate gifts, brands, sale probably does not get many eyeballs at all. Okay, now we're really going heavy on the discounting again. Challenges, I just saw I gave you my email for 10%. Now I can save 20 by using a code, and I don't have to give up anything. So there's some kind of disconnect there. Also, really jumping into the 20% off again here in the header, something that I really don't recommend that you do, but I do like that this carousel here is not auto rotating. Oh, that actually took me to a collection. Interesting. I was really expecting this because of the arrows on the left and the right to be different promotional banners there. So that's something a little unexpected to think about. All right. Moving down, your favorite source for unique socks and other funny gifts. That's great. I love that headline. You're basically telling me you've been in business a while, since 2007. So that brings me some trust. Then I'm immediately going into your bestsellers, which is, okay. It's giving me a really great example, and you're showing them to me. So I think my son actually has these socks, believe it or not. The skateboarding banana, I believe he does. He is the kid's version. These designs are funky and hilarious. So I'll take them. But a couple of things in each of these little lockups here for each product. Really jumping into the name, the price, and then the reviews. I would almost skip having reviews here and instead have a very clear call to action under each of these. What would that look like? Well, it should be something like learn more or view details, not add to cart, not buy now. People aren't ready to do that. They want more details, maybe a closer up picture, maybe some sizing options if that's available. And on rollover, these additional pictures are great. That's definitely not an issue. But it is something to really be thinking about, to have that clear call to action. Tell people what you want them to do. And I would eliminate this shop all. And then last thing I would do is also make sure your navigation bar is sticky. What do I mean by that? Well, as you start scrolling down, that it stays there to some degree. That will allow people to easily get back up and visit the navigation and get to all the product categories. Okay, the fact that you have corporate gifts is good, and you have shop now. You have some pet toys, okay, different categories, some social proof. I would show like half the number of logos here. Otherwise, they all start blending together, and it really just becomes a bit of an issue for visibility, and you start losing everybody knows New York Times, they know Apple, but I start looking in here and there's just a whole bunch of them that kind of blur together if I'm scrolling by pretty quickly. Okay, same here. Now you have a great call to action under each of these, shop now, but you don't have a description or pricing or anything of that sort, but it looks like these are categories. So what I would say is, instead of shop our favorites, I would say something along the lines of favorite categories. Something of that great. And then follow us. You're sending them to social here. I would not do that yet. I would put this in the footer. The reason being that same thing with these. If I click on this, I imagine it's going to, okay, you have a pop-up. That's good. But what we don't want to do is send people off-site to social. You want to have that available to them if they're interested, but definitely not be linking off the site. The reason being is it's a black hole, right? They're going to go in, they're going to start seeing cool stuff from their friends, and they're not going to come back to your site. So highly recommend we keep people on your site whenever possible. And if you do have Instagram, there are a bunch of plugins that easily allow you to do things like this, which is feature the product image and then also allow people to buy it. So that's great to see that you're using that. Those actually convert pretty well from what we've seen. I am not a fan of including blog on a homepage. Um, the reason being that the blog is actually, if we're looking at a funnel of your site, the blog is higher up in that funnel. So that is a great place to get organic traffic. And then you really want to drive people from that to your main site, your product categories, your product detail pages. But from your homepage, it's lower in the funnel than your blog. So you're really just sending people back up that funnel, and it gets a little harder to get them to convert. So if you really want to feature this product, this information, I would take some of that information out of those blog posts and use them on your category and or product detail pages. It's great supporting content for, tell me a little bit about Chastity's story on, the products that are being featured in there. Showcasing your personality. Great. Take me to some of the ones that are like that. So, okay. Real reviews from real customers. I love that you focus on 3. We have some SEO text here, which is very obvious, but most consumers are okay with it. But okay. So then talking about the footer here, if I'm interested in buying the products, what are my options? I now have to scroll all the way back up to the main navigation, or scroll back up the page. You have given me a dead end for shopping here. So first thing is add a column here that is your main product categories. You should even think about repeating your main navigation. That will make it really easy. And then move that connect and that contact information all the way over to the right. And then you could really just leave the rest of the columns as is if you wish. I'm not opposed to the badging, but I would just get rid of the credit card icons, the payment icons, as I've talked about before. And you really don't need to say something like secure checkout. Consumers assume that you have a secure checkout. And if you start saying that otherwise, or add a bunch of badges around security seals and things of that sort in your footer, you actually end up creating mistrust a little more, because your consumers aren't worried about the security of your site until they're actually giving you their information. And at that point, it's a great place to have a reinforcing kind of a security seal or a lock icon, something of that sort. But I wouldn't really be doing that yet, because when we test sites that have a ton of security badges in the footer, the first thing we hear from consumers, what happened to their site that they had to go and get all these security badges? Right? They immediately think something negative happened. So something to really be considering there. Okay, Emily, I have 2 questions, I think, here. Mind if I answer those, and then we can...
Yeah, you do. If you want to hand it over while I get stuff set up, because I was just going to say,
right.
you've got some 2 pretty good questions in there.
All right. Our white background... Okay, so Silas says, are white background photos necessary for higher end brands prices products, or do they help differentiate? Our phone mounts products are hard to understand when not mounted to a bike. Okay, so 2 things, Silas. One is, I don't know that the color really matters. We've done testing of all types, and that has not been an issue. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, in use is almost always going to perform better. And third, if you can have a video for something that is complicated, that is going to perform the best. So if you have a product detail page with multiple images, you should be able to always start off with a video if you can, and then have in use. And then if you want to have just a white background image so that people can get the details of the product, maybe zoom in on something, that's great. But I don't think that it's necessary or help differentiate against the competitors. Okay, Teresa says, if we don't offer a discount for email, what is the best verbiage to use to get them to sign up? Great question. So really want to focus on, if you feel like you need to give something, focus on an offer or a promotion. What do I mean by that? Well, there are dozens and dozens and dozens of offers you can do. I mentioned you could give free shipping. Maybe you have free shipping over $50, something like that. Give free shipping on every order. Or you could say, sign up and you get free shipping on your first order. You could also do gift with purchase. You could do a bundle. You could say, hey, you're going to get access to exclusive product releases before anyone else does. We, for years, worked with a really high-end Japanese camping brand where they almost have like a cult-like following. And every product, as soon as it would get in stock, would be sold out. And so they were like, hey, we don't know, we have an e-com site. It performs really well, but every product goes out of stock immediately. What should we do? And so, what we said was, hey, if you sign up to the email list, you will get notified before it's put up on the site. And we'll send you a special link that allows you to go in and shop those products. Well, that turned into everybody had to be on their email list if they really wanted to have the products. And it performed so well for them because every time they publish an email, they would immediately print money. I mean, that's basically what was happening. So there's lots of ways to engage people for emails. If you go onto thegood.com and click on insights and then search for promotions, you'll get we have a couple posts up there that are like 80 types of promotions you can do. And a very few of them are discounts. So something to look at. All right.
Awesome.
Emily.
Yeah. Super great questions. Keep them coming. I'm going to pop in here a little bit and kind of piggybacking off what John kind of ran through on the homepage, talking a little bit more around the product and then the checkout experience. So as I mentioned earlier, Sock Drawer is a CartHook customer. So they've implemented post-purchase offers and love to kind of take a look and really run through their checkout experience, because as we're getting closer to the major e-commerce holidays, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, it's important to also make sure that your checkout page is optimized. So I've automatically been gravitating towards these bat socks. I have a bat box in my backyard, so it's fitting that I would purchase these. So add to the cart. We've got all of these additional add-ons, which are great. I think, from our research, these help, these don't help. Sometimes they can be a potential blocker to the checkout page, but I like these. There's the idea of the mystery sock. It's great. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the cart here. We still have some additional pre-purchase order bumps here, but I've already purchased. So in terms of just kind of the countdown timer, let's get to the checkout page here. All right. Perfect. So right off the bat, very excited to see that Shop Pay is enabled. That's a huge bump to increasing your conversions on the checkout page. So very excited to see that. I would say kind of one suggestion is it's great to have the shipping delays. That's important, especially in these days when it's the delays are inevitable. Your main site is so great and so cute, maybe adding kind of some more testimonials on this page. And finally, I've gone through this already, but just want to showcase the post-purchase offer here. So I love this. I had purchased the Halloween socks, and so the post-purchase offer here is a complimentary product for the next holiday. A very smart move. 2 suggestions on this front. Love the countdown timer. I'm already feeling the FOMO of wanting to pay now on this. It works, right? So it works on that front of including the countdown timer, even on the checkout and the post-purchase page. It does. It adds a level of urgency of I need to grab this. I need to grab this deal now. One suggestion on this is let's think of this headline, right? You only have a small amount of time to really capture the shopper and get them to essentially accept this post-purchase offer. So your headline really needs to be something that grabs them right away, because if you miss it, they're not going to understand what's going on here and just click no thanks. Another thing to make sure you're paying attention to is how is this looking on mobile? So it's very important to make sure this offer is also displaying properly on mobile. One thing I love is having the buttons in 2 places. Really great job there. Also really great for a mobile optimization feature. I'm going to get these socks. Love them. All right, perfect. So in this scenario is now you're going through the holiday seasons. I love this thought process on your strategy. So it's almost too good, right? So I now have all of my holidays set up in box. So I can either accept or decline. Again, we have the same countdown timer. I'm getting nervous. I obviously need to get these. So same thing. I love, how about the Christmas deal? Maybe adding a little bit more to the text here. This is great. This one, you have different product images. That's awesome as well. Think of that for maybe the Thanksgiving, your upsell offer. This one, I do have an option to select variants. Interesting. There would be one that would just add consistency between the offers that you're doing for each step of the funnel flow. But again, great opportunity here with the 2 purchase buttons. And again, just confirming how everything looks on mobile. Let's get these 2.
What do you think comes after?
Awesome.
Oh, okay. I was
The
going to say,
thank you page.
what's the next holiday?
Yeah, no, it's a surprise, right? No, you got it. So, right. So now I've got everything captured on this page. I can see the percentage, know where it's going. There we go. So very good. And again, you have your shipping delays on the thank you page. Great. I don't think we need to add anything additional onto this page. It's really just a confirmation piece. But all in all, I loved your funnels. I liked the strategy behind the product placements that you put in place. I now have socks for all of the men in my life for the holiday season. So this is perfect. Awesome. That was fun. Thank you, John.
Of course.
I'm going to pass it back over to you.
All right. I will share here. Looks like you have a couple of questions if you want to answer those maybe before I dive in. See, Derek says, why does Shop Pay boost conversions? Great question.
That is a great question. And that's because it makes it super simple for the shopper to check out. I know, and I'm speaking strictly to Shop Pay, but I would even add bundled in Apple Pay, PayPal, any way that you make it easy for your shopper to complete a purchase, the better. Shop Pay just historically has a higher conversion rate on the kind of one-click quick pay options, but I know I'm guilty of it. If I go to a checkout page and there's no PayPal, Shop Pay, Apple Pay, Google Pay option, I typically abandon my order because, one, going back to what I said, making sure that your pages are optimized for mobile. I make almost 90% of purchases through my phone. So again, that's what makes it important that you have those quick pay options to make it super simple for shoppers to check out.
We have found too that folks love Shop Pay because then all of their purchases and tracking end up in one app. So there's a great app that you can get for Shop Pay that pulls all of your orders you've paid with Shop Pay, and it even lets you import ones you haven't used Shop Pay for. But if you use Shop Pay, they automatically end up in there, and all of the tracking is there, a whole history of everything you've bought. So it makes it really easy to track your orders.
Yeah, that's a good point. And Shop Pay does track the shopper's history. So thinking along the lines of post-purchase, something that we're looking and building in is like a recommendation offer. So based off of a previous shopper's history, you can really craft like really specific offers based on what they purchased.
Yeah. Great. And then there was another question, what would a good headline be? I'm not sure what that was in reference though, Jennifer. Maybe if you want to add some more context into the chat. Emily, are you aware?
Yeah, if it was around kind of offer page, I think adding more, if it's, the main site had such a cute vibe to it, and that seemed to have been lost on the offer page. So carrying over that brand kind of voice on that page, I think could go a long way.
Yeah, that's a great point. Wow. Yeah, you are decked out with socks now, so
I got my socks.
Move on.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's look here at Culture Kings. I'm going to refresh the page, and hopefully that allows me to do some of the. Okay, great. So all the pop-ups came back. I'm not a fan of pop-ups. I won't dive into that. If anybody has seen me speak before, I could go on for an hour just about pop-ups alone. But here. There's just so much going on. It's pop-ups on pop-ups, right? So first thing we have here is get your summer fits sorted 3 for $99.99. Shop now. So again, you're immediately driving me into the discount path. which is limiting the cross-sell opportunities, meaning maybe I'm interested in some of those, but if I'm not, then I'm likely to leave. This is why we're not fans of having a sale or clearance category on your site. Instead, sale or clearance items should be part of the product category they belong in, and then have a tag applied to them. What I mean by that is you can put a little like sale bubble up in the right-hand corner of the image, something of that sort that calls it out in the product grid. But ideally, you don't send people to just the sale page, because what's going to happen is if they don't see something they like, they bail, and they start to think every other product you sell is overpriced, even though it's really just not. It's just the context and the priming that you've done. So that's the first challenge. But now I close that and I get another thing to sign up for email pop-ups. At least here you're doing a giveaway, which is something that performs pretty well, and I prefer this for sure over doing a discount. But I look here and there's just so much going on. Sign up to win your size in this week's limited sneaker drop. And then I got to, talk about all of this stuff. Okay, great details. But then it's also send to messenger. So there's just a lot, like, you're doing segmenting through here, collecting a lot of information. I really don't want to give you my birthday. That it seems highly irrelevant for entering a sweepstakes, at least to start. Maybe in your locale, there's, some, it looks like they're in Australia, right? So maybe there's some legal requirements to do that if somebody's entering a sweepstakes. But generally, the less information you ask for, the better off that you will be. So, all right, let's close that and get into here. Free shipping on orders over $100, great. But the navigation here, the navigation bar, there's so much going on. I think this is really going to be the key for this site, is just dialing things back a little bit. First of all, we have our main navigation here. I think these are great categories. But then I have all of this secondary nav up here. That's a bit of an issue. And I think that is stuff that should just be in the footer for the most part. You can have your stuff here for if you have a different region. For instance, it looks like they have a United States region, et cetera. So that's great. Search, I always love to see search in the navigation. And I love that you're offering your popular products there. People who search convert, it's about 40 to 50% higher than those who don't, because they know what they're generally looking for. So if they search and they find it, then boom, they're probably going to convert much quicker. So that's great. I love that you're doing popular brands. If I'm interested in just a brand of shoe or clothing, that's great. And then your popular products there. So all of that stuff is really well done. I would just dial it back, especially when you have shop men's, shop women's here, which is right above it as well. So I would just get rid of this bar, especially because 500 new arrivals dropping weekly, orders shipped within hours. I don't know that it's that valuable, but it's something that could potentially go up here instead as well. All right. Now, I always think that putting a sale item in the main promo area is not a good idea for all the reasons I've talked earlier about discounting. If you go to that same site, same link I posted, and just search for discounting, you'll see a whole bunch of articles about how to promote without discounting, et cetera. But the first thing here is 3 for $99.95, but I'm not really sure what the products are. But yeah, now it says it's in-app only, but I could actually get to it from this way as well. So I'm a little confused if I'm a consumer which one it is. Again, I would have that nav be sticky. It seems to come and go a little bit there, but I would have your top nav be a sticky navigation. And then featured this week, I think it's great that you have these featured items. I love that you have a little description. They're called out, and then you're taking me to a shop now. So that's great. Samuel, if you look in the chat and scroll up a little bit, all of the links are there. I posted earlier. After I'm done, I'll post them again. And then have a little bit of a banner to world exclusive. Okay, great. Almost gone. That's a great way to really increase some urgency, right? Without being, very, I don't know how to better put slimy about it, right? I mean, you could really kind of say, hey, this is, put a countdown timer on this, but it's really doesn't matter. This case, a lot of brands will do that. This is great. You're saying, hey, these are exclusive and we have a limited number of stock. And this is, I also love that you have the world exclusive badge and the reflective badge. Those badges are what I was talking about. You could do also with sale items or last chance or limited stock. Those badges really do perform quite well, we see. So that's great. The only thing I would add here is a clear call to action. Right now, you're offering your sizes. It looks like maybe you're also saying which ones aren't in there, but I would eliminate the sizing rollover and instead just have a clear call to action to drive people to the product detail page and handle that there. Face masks, okay, great. That's something that you're seeing have some interest lately, of course. So all the different call outs here, I think, all of these are on brands, showing the product. That's great. Again, I can shop by brands. This is a great place to call out your new arrivals weekly as opposed to what you've done up top. So all of this stuff is really, I think, well done. I would avoid the in-page navigation here, only because, as I mentioned earlier, people likely aren't going to click on that. They'll scroll right past it. And then I think as you roll over these, you really need to have a call to action to get people to click. You just need to, as simple as it sounds, have a button and tells people what you want them to do, right? So let them know you want them to click on these when they roll over. Okay, so sign up form. Again, we're segmenting. That's fine. I think that could be helpful for consumers because you're only asking for an email address and to segment their preferences. And that just means, hey, I'm only going to get the emails that I want. And I think that's the best way to phrase that, as opposed to choose your product preferences. I would really consider something along the lines of tailor the emails for you, right? Something that's making it sound like a benefit for me, only get the emails that I want, right? So there's some options there. I'm still not sure about the send to Messenger. What am I sending to Messenger? What do I want there? Looking at the footer, okay, great. You have your shop on the left. It looks like you have some great retail stores locations, so that's helpful. About help. And the latest and greatest, I would probably get rid of this. We've tried to run several tests where we put products in the footer. And what we find is people who are in the footer are looking for something specific, not necessarily browsing. So what's happening is they see that and they're like, okay, maybe that's cool. I really want the Hirachi, but I'm looking for something specific while I'm down here, right? And you really should have your contact information over here on the right. And I would move stores next to it. So I would have stores be the farthest column, and then next to that, put all your contact information. That way it kind of gets grouped together. But right now, if I want to get a hold of you for an online purchase, where do I go? Right? It's buried that you have returns and then contact. But if I have an issue, what do I do? Right? So put that information front and center. And then, of course, you can get rid of these credit icons down here, as we've talked about. All right, Emily. So I think we're running out of time here. So this is probably going to be the last teardown that we have time for. But we can answer a couple more questions if there are any. Or Emily, if you had any questions about this one as well, happy to answer those.
Yeah, this was great. And one thing that I didn't touch on in the previous one, but you did, was around SMS. SMS marketing. And I think that's something that might be overlooked by a few. Everyone's so locked in on email, and email is great. But SMS is slowly working its way up the line, and specifically around cart abandonment, order tracking. So my recommendation for folks, again, as you're looking at optimizing and ways to improve your checkout funnel for the holidays and beyond, is taking a look at SMS apps and how you can integrate them with your site.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, we see a lot of success there.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
You got a question.
It was mentioned that at the start of the webinar, hamburger menus are better for mobile. Are there any other ideas you've mentioned that change for desktop versus mobile? Yeah, great question. So Yes, the short answer is that, you know, I would really recommend that on mobile you don't have a sticky navigation because it takes up too much screen real estate. I would eliminate more content off the homepage when you're on mobile. So when you have a responsive view, I would really focus on just paring down the content on mobile to the point where you're helping them to get the information. You don't want to be void of branding, right? It's definitely helpful to have branding in there, and then also look at other types of functionality. So one thing that we find performs really, really well, especially with more pricey items as the value goes up of your cart, to have something like an email cart instead of asking people to check out on mobile. That maybe they're in an Uber and they are looking at this product and they're like, oh man, I really want those air hirachis, but I know they're going to be $400 or $500. What do I need to do? I'm not ready to buy these yet. So what do? They email themselves the link, which gets really, arduous for consumers. So do things, be thinking about what's the consumer going through with that decision making process, and are they more likely to buy on desktop than they are on mobile? And if it's a higher priced item, typically they are. And then at that point, what I would do is make it easy for them to transition over to desktop. So email cart is something that becomes really popular then. Yeah. Well, while you pull that up, I'll try to answer. How do you funnel consumers that know they're looking for something very specific but are largely uneducated about what that is? So, for example, a board game that is easy enough to teach grandma, but will also be fun to teach your teenage kids. That is a great question. So, what we typically recommend is when you are doing that in search, is to go based on two things. One is intent and usage. So instead of just having a category that is board games, maybe under board games you have a subcategory that is beginner level, right? And so you start thinking about that use case, right? And start putting your navigation together based on that. Other than that, also being very descriptive in the product detail page with the copy will help people, and be thinking about it this way. I always like this example. So if you think about buying a laptop computer, right? And most of the time, laptop computer product detail pages are just easy pickings for making bad examples of, because they're all about specs. They're all about the processor, how much memory they have, screen sizes, all these technical things that if you're not a technical person or the IT person on a team, you just don't know and you don't really care perhaps. You want to buy use. And this is something where if a grandma is looking to buy a computer for their kid, their grandkid for graduation, let's say, they don't care about the specs. They don't know anything about that, but they do care. Great for getting homework done and playing games. Great for watching movies and doing, that research report, right? They're looking at the use base. And I think that's what's really important to focus your descriptions on. And that will also help guide a little bit of your navigation. So when you're buying, a laptop, for instance, the navigation should be something like for students, for hardcore gamers, right? Or for casual, right? Or checking email, right? Thinking about what do people use this for, and then go from there. So hopefully that helps, Aaron.
Awesome. Great. Well, that is good stuff. John, as always, it is great having you on for your teardowns. Always learned so much. Thank you to all of the brands that gave us their sites for John to run through. Sock drawers, very excited for my socks.
Yes.
John is offering, I am showing here, we'll send this in a recap email, but John has a free offer for an ebook. So definitely download that for more tips and tricks. And if you're interested in getting started with CartHook and adding post-purchase to your Shopify checkout flow, let's chat. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining. And John, thanks again.
All right. Thank you. Have a great day.